Tulsi Gabbard says that there is no daylight between her and President Trump when it comes to Iran's nuclear capabilities. That comes after Trump said this about her testimony in Congress back in March. Watch.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
And Gabbard responded to that earlier today, telling CNN that President Trump was saying the same thing that I said in my annual threat assessment back in March in Congress. Unfortunately, too many people in the media don't care to actually read what I said. We are on the same page, she says. Anna Navarro is at the table with us right now. Not quite. I mean, we played what she said, and Trump seems to at least be contemplating that there is something completely different happening here, that he needs to act in an extraordinary way to stop Iran from having a nuclear bomb.
And I think it's very sobering to realize that, you know, so many of these folks that Trump put in his cabinet in very important positions have no experience. And a lot of Republicans in Congress, in the Senate, who care tremendously about foreign policy and about the military, voted for them out of loyalty to Trump. And now we find ourselves moving, Navy assets to the region, and the Secretary of the Navy is an art collector with zero military experience. We find ourselves on the brink of military action. We find ourselves involved tangentially or directly in a war in the Middle East, and the Secretary of Defense is a guy who hangs out on signal threads and who, has no leadership experience, a Fox News host. You've got Tulsi Gabbard. And so, I think the roosters have come to the home to roost, and it's very concerning. It's very concerning as an American. I forget partisanship.
It was notable because there was a key meeting on this conflict that happened at Camp David, and Tulsi Gabbard wasn't even invited to the meeting. There are just different reasons being given for why that is, maybe a scheduling conflict, maybe something else. But it's both her inexperience and also the fact that there's actually a lot of people in this White House who don't trust her, who think that she has poor judgment, who think that she is sort of not a MAGA conservative in terms of how she deals with foreign policy. And she is the top figure in the White House who gives the president intelligence from the intelligence community. That's extraordinary.
I think that point is moot now, because we're potentially on the brink of launching missiles into a foreign country. And so regardless of what you think about these individuals' experience, the people who are around them, those career individuals, are going to have to advise the hell out of them to make the best decisions to advise the president. My hope is that the president doesn't make this decision. I don't think that this is going to end well for us, because there is the opportunity for Iran to retaliate. And if they do that against the bases we have in the region, we will have no choice but to further this. And there's not a single American who wants to send their sons and daughters to another conflict in the Middle East, trillions of dollars potential of taxpayers. We can't afford it.
Right.
I think we
has not
we
been
can't
on
go
the
in that
same page
direction.
about this. First of all, Marco Rubio came out and said, well, we had no idea what was going on. And then days later, Trump was like, oh, no, we knew everything that was going on. And now we have Tulsi Gabbard, who is an accused Assad asset, by the way. We shouldn't forget that. And we have, to your point, Pete Hegseth. Do you feel comfortable, even no matter what happens, do you feel comfortable with this administration and all their discord and all their lies overseeing a potential war that would have a massive impact on our geopolitics in that region and in other places as well?
I feel comfortable with hoping, Tiffany, that the administration makes the right decision to not get entangled in the Middle East again.
Are they capable of making the right decision?
I think so. I think so. I really think so.
I got to jump in on this because, look, I think this is a problem regardless of what administration is in charge. We should not engage in this war. Look, there's a lot of saber rattling. There's a lot of fear mongering about Iran building nuclear weapons, even though the intel is obviously contradicting. You have Israel saying weeks ago, they shared their intel with the United States, and the administration rejected it. Our intelligence community rejected it. They said Iran is not weeks away from building a nuclear weapon. But you want to know something? There are two countries in this whole scenario that do have nuclear weapons. One, of course, is the United States of America. The other, they don't acknowledge it, is Israel. So they act like, oh, we're just little lambs, and well, it's such a big threat. Okay. The whole thing about nuclear weapons, the reason why the United States can't allow Ukraine to do whatever it wants against Russia is because they're a nuclear power. It is a deterrent.
Well, Ukraine had nukes, remember.
Israel doesn't want Iran to have a deterrent. Now, in a perfect world, neither of those countries would have nuclear weapons, but one of them does, and the one that does loves to cry about how it's always under threat while it's bombing Iranian embassies in places like Syria, while it's literally allowing its IDF soldiers to shoot at international diplomats as they're visiting Jenin. Like, are we ever going to at least address the belligerence of the current Israeli government?
Also shooting at people in Gaza when they're trying to get aid.
That's a full-blown genocide.
So a couple things. One thing, going back to Tulsi Gabbard, if you're not in the room, you're not relevant, right? And she clearly wasn't in the room in Camp David. She clearly doesn't have the confidence of some of those people in the White House. Nobody's coming out to defend her. You know, the only person defending Tulsi Gabbard is Tulsi Gabbard at this point in time, right? So not in the room, not relevant. As it relates to Israel, I think it's very hard, given what happened on October 7th, to sit here and say, oh, they're just crying about crying about how problems they have.
Intel from Israel when it came to.
No, I understand, but you can't sit here today and say what happened on October 7th is something that's not significant, that isn't leading to all of these other issues, right? So I'm not buying the fact that we shouldn't stand with Israel. I mean, if anybody's sitting here saying we shouldn't stand with Israel as our true ally in that region, that's a real problem.
I think you're right about that, but the question becomes, and we don't have an answer to this, what's the ultimate end game? What is the end game here? If the current regime topples, who in the world are we advocating to lead Iran? We don't have an answer to that question yet.
The fact that you have a director of national intelligence who you're claiming is not irrelevant, I'm claiming is not qualified, is incredibly concerning as we are at the brink of war. And I think, him being surrounded by military experts running the DOD and in high positions who could, at best, play battleship as part of their qualifications is very, very concerning.
All right, we got
I think it's a little
coming up
naive
next
to say
for
that he's not
us.
getting good intelligence.
President Trump is now canceling that pause that he ordered on immigration raids at farms and hotels, and we'll debate what happens next.